Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Neuralink presentation. This is an update for the progress of the Neuralink team. It's been an incredible amount of progress. This is, we're going to start off high level, generally describing what Neuralink's doing, and then we're going to have a very deep technical dive so you can actually get an understanding of what exactly we're doing at a granular level and what we can do to enhance human capabilities and ultimately build a great future for humanity. So those are neurons firing. It's funny to think that me talking right now is a bunch of neurons firing that then result in speech that you hear and cause neurons to fire in your brain. Part of this presentation is about demystifying the brain. It is a remarkable organ. I mean, we are the brain, basically. When you say you, that really is, you're the brain. Like you can get a heart transplant, you can get a kidney transplant, but I don't know anyone who's gotten a brain transplant. So you are your brain. And your experiences are these neurons firing with trillions of synapses that somehow lead to conscious comprehension of the world. This is something that we have only begun to understand. We're really just barely at the beginning of understanding of what is the nature of consciousness. And I've thought a lot about what is consciousness? Where does consciousness arise? Because if you start at the beginning of the universe, assuming physics is true, the standard model of physics is true, then you have this Big Bang, the matter condensing into stars, those stars exploding. A lot of the atoms that are in your body right now were once at the center of stars. Those stars exploded, recondensed. Fast forward 13.8 billion years, and here we are. And somewhere along that very long journey, to us at least, consciousness arose, or the molecules started talking to each other. And it begs the question of what is consciousness? Is everything conscious? Maybe. It's hard to say where along that line. There's no sort of discrete point where consciousness didn't exist and then suddenly does exist. It seems to be maybe you have a condensation of matter that has a density of like we don't know what the real answer is. We don't know what consciousness is. But with Neuralink and the progress that the company's making, we'll begin to understand a lot more about consciousness. And what does it mean to be? Along the way, we're going to solve a lot of brain issues where the brains get injured or damaged in some way, or didn't develop in quite the right way. But there's a lot of brain and spine injuries that we'll solve along the way. And I do want to emphasize that this is all going to happen quite slowly, meaning you'll see it coming. Sometimes people think that suddenly there will be vast numbers of Neuralinks all over the place. This is not going to be sudden. You'll be able to watch it happen, over the course of several years, and we go through exhaustive regulatory approvals. So this is not something that we're just doing, by ourselves without government oversight. We work closely with the regulators every step of the way. We're very cautious with the Neuralinks in humans. That's the reason we're not moving faster than we are, is because we're taking great care with each individual to make sure we never miss. And so far we haven't, and I hope that continues into the future. Every single one of our implants in humans is working, and working quite well. And you'll get to hear from some of the people that have received the implants. And hear it in their words. So what we're creating here with a Neuralink device is a generalized input-output technology for the brain. So it's how do you get information into or out of the brain, and do so in a way that does not damage the brain or cause any negative side effects. So it's a very hard problem, and generally the reactions I've seen to this range from "it's impossible" to "it's already been done before." Those people should meet, actually. The reality is that there actually have been limited brain-to-computer interfaces for several decades on a very basic basis. Just what we're doing with Neuralink is dramatically increasing the bandwidth by many orders of magnitude. So you can a human bandwidth output is less than 1 bit per second over the course of a day. So there's 86,400 seconds in a day. It's very rare for a person to do more than 86,400 bits of output per day. You'd have to be really talking a lot or typing all day, and you might exceed that. So what we're talking about here is going from maybe 1 bit per second to ultimately megabits and then gigabits per second. And the ability to do consensual telepathy. Now, the input to the brain is much higher, especially because of vision. Depending upon how you count it, it might be on the order of a megabit or in the megabit range for input, primarily due to sight. But even for input, we think that can be dramatically increased to the gigabit plus level. And a lot of the thinking that we do is we take a concept in our mind and we compress that into a small number of symbols. So when you're trying to communicate with somebody else, you're actually trying to model their mind state, and then take perhaps quite a complex idea that you have, maybe even a complex image or scene or kind of mental video, and try to compress that into a few words or a few keystrokes. And it's necessarily going to be very lossy. Your ability to communicate is very limited by how fast you can talk and how fast you can type. And what we're talking about is unlocking that potential to enable you to communicate, like I said, thousands, perhaps millions of times faster than is currently possible. This is an incredibly profound breakthrough. This would be a fundamental change to what it means to be a human. So we're starting off with reducing human suffering, or addressing issues that people have, say if they've been in an accident or they have some neural disease that's degenerative, so they're losing capability to move their body, or some kind of injury, essentially. So enabling, our first product is called telepathy, and that enables someone who has lost the ability to command their body to be able to communicate with a computer and move the mouse and actually operate a computer with roughly the same dexterity, ultimately much more dexterity than a human with working hands. Then our next product is blind sight, which will enable those who have total loss of vision, including if they've lost their eyes or the optic nerve, or maybe have never seen, were blind, even blind from birth, to be able to see again. Initially low resolution, but ultimately very high resolution, and then in multiple wavelengths. So you could be like Geordi LaForge in Star Trek, and you can see in radar, you can see in infrared, ultraviolet, superhuman capabilities, cybernetic enhancement, essentially. And then along the way, this should help us understand a lot more about consciousness. What does it mean to be a conscious creature? We'll understand vastly more about the nature of consciousness as a result of this. And then ultimately, I think this helps mitigate the civilizational risk of artificial intelligence. we are actually we already sort of have three layers of thinking. There's the limbic system, which is your kind of your instincts, your cortical system, which is your higher level planning and thinking, and then the tertiary layer, which is the computers and machines that you interact with, like your phone, all the applications you use. So people actually are already a cyborg. You can maybe have an intuitive sense for this by how much you miss your phone if you leave it behind. Leaving your phone behind is it's almost like missing limb syndrome. Your phone is somewhat of an extension of yourself, as is your computer. So you already have this digital tertiary layer, but the bandwidth between your cortex and your digital tertiary layer is limited by speech and by how fast you can move your fingers and how fast you can consume information visually. But I think it's actually very important for us to address that input-output bandwidth constraint in order for the collective will of humanity to match the will of artificial intelligence. That's my intuition, at least. So let's see. And what this presentation is mostly about is attracting smart humans to come and work with us on this problem. So this is not a presentation